Welcome.
Bem-vindos, bem-vindas.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
A todos e
Good
todas.
afternoon, everyone.
Bem-vindos e bem-vindas. Boa tarde a todos e
Welcome, everyone.
todos me escutam?
Can you hear me?
Sim, Marcela, obrigada.
Yes, Marcela. Thank
Então, vou
you.
pedir aqui a Letícia
Okay,
de
I'm going
admitir
to
os outros
ask
participantes que forem
Leticia
entrando
to help
para,
me
em primeiro lugar, dar
admit people
boas-vindas. Boa
entering
tarde a
here.
todos e
Good
todas.
afternoon,
Estamos aqui no nosso grupo,
everyone. We are here in our
Bioeconomia
group,
da Restauração Florestal. Eu me chamo Marcela
Bioforest
Schetti e eu sou
ALC,
moderadora aqui
and
do
I
nosso
am the
grupo de trabalho
moderator
3
of our
Bioeconomia
work group
da
number
Restauração
3, the
Florestal.
Forest
Temos como
Restoration
coordenadores do nosso
Bioeconomics,
grupo de trabalho o
or
reflorestallador,
bioeconomy
professor
of
Jorge,
forest
a
restoration.
Cati,
So we
de
have
Costa Rica,
Kati
e
from
também
Costa Rica, we have
também
Max,
Cati, Costa Rica.
Katy from Costa
Vou
Rica,
apresentar rapidamente o
Roger
nosso
Villalobos.
programação
I'm going
para
to
essa
present
tarde.
you our program here
Mas
in the
antes, vamos
afternoon.
garantir que todos e
But
todas
before
estão
that, let's guarantee that
escutando
everyone can
bem,
hear us
todos
really
e
well.
todas, né? Para
Okay?
quem precisa de
So
tradução,
those
pode
who need
acionar o
translation
globo,
can
né? E
activate the
escolher a
globe
tradução,
and
inglês,
choose
português,
the
espanhol,
language, English,
né?
Portuguese, or
E talvez já
Spanish.
seja a sua
I
escolha.
think that everyone has
Então, a
made their
nossa
choice,
tradução
and
funcionando
we're going to
para
have the
português, inglês,
translation here working
todos
in all of
escutando?
these three languages. Can you hear this?
Uau!
Yes,
Obrigada mais
perfect.
uma vez pela presença de
Okay, thank you
vocês.
so much for your presence.
Então, antes de
And
começar,
before we
né, a
begin,
gente vai fazer aí grupo,
we are
né, de
going
trabalho essa
to
tarde com
do
três grandes momentos,
this
né? Um momento
work
de escutar ouvir
together
experiências,
in 2 moments
né,
with
de sua
Mentimeter,
coordenação por
listening to
favor,
your experience
nas
through the
sessões
coordination of
participativas
Jorge,
e desafios
and
da
then we're going
comunidade.
to
E
ask
depois a gente
some
vai fazer um
questions
planejamento,
and
né, algumas
discuss these
propostas
questions
futuras
together.
e
We're
juntos
going to
algumas
discuss
propostas para
together
ser
some proposals
feito
of
dentro desse grupo,
actions that
algumas
we can do
atividades para a gente
facing
discutir
these
aqui hoje,
challenges that
certo?
we are going to face
Então,
here
antes da
today.
gente começar,
So, before we start,
eu vou fazer uma pergunta para
I'm going
vocês,
to
para a gente
ask a
se conhecer um
question
pouco, entender aqui como é que é o
for
perfil do
us
nosso grupo.
to know a little bit more about the
Vou precisar
profile of
pedir para
this
que a
group.
Letícia coloque no
So I'm
chat
going to ask
um
Leticia to
link
put it
de
here
uma
in the chat,
ferramenta
a link of
virtual
this tool
que
that I have
vocês vão
mentioned before,
responder.
which is
Em que
Mentimeter.
país vocês estão
So
agora?
you're going to answer some questions about what country you were in.
Olhar o chat?
Can you look at the chat and see
Legal. Todo mundo
the
conseguiu
link?
responder?
Yes. Could you answer it already?
Sim.
Now it's
Vocês
working.
conseguem ver, pessoal?
Can you look at this now? Yes.
Em que país você está?
Agora
What
sim.
country you are in,
Uau, muito
right?
bom. A
Yes,
maioria dos
great,
nossos
guys.
participantes são
So the majority
brasileiros,
of
também temos participantes
the
da
people
Costa
here
Rica,
participating
da
are from
Irlanda
Brazil,
e
but there are people from
Colômbia.
Costa Rica,
É
Suriname,
porque vocês
and
também
Colombia.
prometeram ter respondido a segunda
I think that
enquete.
you also answered the
Muito
second
bem.
question, right?
Então, pessoal, a maioria, né,
Great.
respondeu
So the
que
majority of the people
são
answered
das universidades
that
desse
they are from the
país. Também temos
universities, the
bastante pessoas
academia
não
of these
governamentais
countries. We also have
e
NGOs
institutos do
and
governo.
government
Muito
institutions.
legal. Aqui só para a gente também
So
conhecer um pouco do
great.
perfil do grupo
Just
que
for
está
us
aqui
to know a
hoje,
little bit of the profile of people that
participando,
are
claro.
participating here
Tive o
with
prazer de
us.
compartilhar essa
I am
tela
so
algumas
sorry
vezes
for not being
com
able to
vocês e
share
agora
with you
deu tudo certo.
before, but I'm happy that it
Agora eu vou
worked out in
passar
the
a
end.
palavra
Now I'm going to pass the
para o
floor
coordenador do
to our
nosso grupo,
coordinator, the
que é o
coordinator
professor
of this
Jorge,
group, Professor Jorge,
que vai fazer a
who is going
apresentação
to make his
dos
presentation
objetivos do nosso
with the
grupo de trabalho
objectives of
no dia de
our work
hoje.
group today.
Jorge, é com
Jorge,
você.
it's your turn.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Marcela.
Thank you, Marcela.
Tengo un problema acá porque estoy escuchando el
I'm so sorry. I think I'm having an issue because I am in the Spanish channel, so I'm listening to myself.
Bien, espero que me estén escuchando.
Okay, so I hope that you can hear me.
Estoy desde el
I
GT3
am
en Costa Rica.
Roger
Soy
Villalobos.
el coordinador
I am in
técnico
this
de este plan
project and I am the
de
coordinator
estudios
of this
en
project
la
for the
extensión de la
forest,
red
the
latinoamericana
tropical forest
de
in the area and the
eh,
landscape
para este
restoration.
grupo de discusión tenemos
For
como
this
objetivos
discussion
cinco
today,
prioridades
we have
para la
several
restoración de
possibilities
paisajes o para la
and
construcción de bosques,
about the
para el desarrollo de la
construction of
bioeconomía. Considero que es
forests and
importante
the
contribuir
economic.
en la mitigación de
So
los
there is
impactos
this
del cambio climático.
modification,
Yo agregaría también buscando vínculos con la adaptación.
and we're looking for links,
Además de eso, queremos discutir
and that's
posibilidades
what
de
we're going
incrementar
to
la reforestación
discuss,
del
the
paisaje
possibilities
con
of
la restauración de
restorations
bosques
of
de manera
forests and
integrada con el
also
desarrollo de
landscape
la bioeconomía,
restoration with the support
considerando
of
la
bioeconomy.
protección de los
The
espacios
development
naturales.
of the bioeconomy, considering the
Ah,
importance of these activities in mitigating the impacts of climate change.
esperamos también
So,
poder
discussing
discutir
possibilities in implementing
propuestas
landscape
de
restoration and
paisajes
forest restoration
que tengan un
is going
objetivo
to be
social,
amazing. So, we
considerando
have this
aspectos
approach
sociales,
considering the
históricos
social
y
aspects, the
económicos.
historical aspects, and the economical aspects.
Para la sesión contamos con la
For this
participación
session, we're going to count with the
invitados.
participation
Tenemos a
of
Leonardo Urrut,
Leonardo
desde el
Root
sur de la
from
región de Brasil.
the network,
Que nos va a hablar de experiencias
who
de
is
apoyo
going to talk about the
país no
experiences of
vulnerable.
support.
Vamos a tener también la participación de Natalia
We
Alburquerque,
have the participation of Natalia
que nos va a comentar
Alburquerque
sobre el programa
from the
Arboresco,
Brazilian program, who is going to
restauración
talk
de la
about
biodiversidad forestal
the
y alianzas para la
non-timber forest
conservación
products and
de bosques
restoration
nacionales.
challenges and
Y
opportunities.
tenemos la
And
participación
we're also
también
going to
de
have the
don Eduardo
participation
Malta
of
Filio,
Eduardo Malta
científico
Campos, who is
ambiental
going
de
to talk
Brasil,
about seed
quien
networks
nos
for
va a
restoration.
exponenciar
We are all going to have experiences of supporting non-timber
realmente
forest
ahorita
product
voy a
chains in the
un cierre
southern
sobre el
Brazil
proyecto forestal en
and
Bolivia,
the
pero
Arboretum
cuando
program
tuve
for the
oportunidad
conservation and
de
restoration
experiencias
of forest
importantes de esta
diversity.
institución
So we're going to
latinoamericana de
have
Costa Rica.
everything being done today about
Pasaríamos
this
entonces,
topic.
Marcela,
Now
a
we're
la
going to
presentación de las
pass
exposiciones, ¿verdad?
to the presentations of all of the
Bien, en
speakers,
este
right?
caso,
In
le
this
pediríamos
case,
a
I
Leonardo
would like
Urrut
to
que nos
ask
va a
Leonardo
compartir su
Urut,
pantalla.
who is going to share his screen and start speaking
Boa
first.
tarde a todos.
Good afternoon,
Obrigado,
everyone. Thank you, Professor.
Deixa eu fazer o compartilhamento.
Let me start
Leonardo
sharing my
e
screen.
todos e todas que vão
Leonardo
apresentar
and everyone who's going to
painelistas,
present,
vocês têm até 10
you
minutos para
have
fazer a
10
apresentação de
minutes to
vocês.
make your
E
presentation.
se houver alguma pergunta, nós vamos
And
deixar
if
para o
you have
final.
any
A gente tem
questions,
mais ou menos uma hora para
we're going to
escutar
leave that
essas
to the end,
palestras
okay?
e ao final
And
a
at
gente
the
vê se tem
end,
alguma
we're
pergunta
going to
importante para ser feita.
leave these questions
Então, com você.
for
Então,
us to
Leonardo,
answer
10
here
minutos.
today. So, Leonardo,
Certo.
you
Muito
have
bem, Marcela.
10 minutes.
Primeiramente,
Marcela,
boa
thank
tarde.
you.
Agradeço muito pelo
First
convite.
of all,
É prazer poder participar
thank
desse
you so
evento tão
much for the
importante,
invitation. This
rico,
is a great event.
representativo.
It's
E
very representative.
foi solicitado que falasse pouco
So,
das nossas experiências
let's
em
talk a
relação ao
little bit
apoio dos
about
produtos
our
produtivos e
experiences
produtos não madeireiros,
and the
florestais,
productive
no sul
chain
do
and the
Brasil.
non-timber products of the southern Brazil.
E claro que aqui é apenas
And of course,
tópico de
that
uma das
this
nossas
is just a
experiências.
topic of
Vou tentar
one
ser
of our
bastante breve,
experiences. I'm going to
ser, mas
try
eu
to
fico à
be
disposição para
as
que
brief as
qualquer colega que
possible,
tenha
and
interesse em
I'm going to
aprofundar
be
outros
at your
assuntos, né,
disposal if you
estou à
have
disposição para
any
responder.
needs for
Eu
deepening your knowledge
falo
in
de
this
Porto Alegre,
subject.
no Rio Grande do
So
Sul,
I'm
tá? O estado
speaking
mais
from Porto
produtivo do
Alegre,
Brasil.
from Rio Grande
Aqui
do
nós,
Sul,
nós
the southern
temos
area of
um estado
Brazil,
dividido em Mata
and we have a
Atlântica
state
e
that
região
is
autônoma,
divided by
onde
Mata
tem mais
Atlântica
campestre,
and the
ambientes
Atlantic
químicos, muitos
forest
florestais.
and
A
some
gente vive nessa
site
variedade de ambientes.
We have this heterogeneity of environments here in Brazil. And my speech here today and my experiences of an environmental analyst and the Secretary of Forest here in the state, the government institution here in the area. It's a very recent secretary, and we are trying to mobilize these different topics involving ecological restoration. Very, very new to the subject now. So, guys, the experiences that I'm going to bring to you today start from public policies. So, they have certain particularities. For example, 10, 11 years ago, through the Environment Secretary of State, we started working closely with these institutions for the non-timber areas, and we got this huge demand, huge social demand for the need of simplifying the legal demands for us to think about public policies of support with some general aspects, the environmental management of the value chain, productive chain, and the transportation, the trade of these products involving the sanitary measures and the benefits of these products as well, the fruits or any other type of byproducts that come from the forest that were at the time and still are gaps of this sustainable chain issues that we face. So we need to restructure this productive chain in a different way. And we need to think about refrigeration, the transportation, and the trade of this vegetation. These demands started to be debated in a more organized way from 2011 on, with a multi-institutional forum called Technical Chamber of Products and Social Biodiversity. And the rural producers of the area took advantage of the political time and environment where there was a sustainable secretary with the possibility of debating this area with this chamber, with this forum. So the first message that I would like to bring you is that there was an arrangement that was necessary to be done 10 years ago, and that brought a lot of attention to these main gaps that we had at the time. And from our perspective, we understand that the management of this vegetation and the limitations and difficulties that we faced in the environmental moment that we lived was necessary.
So after a very extensive analysis of the legislation, we decided in 2012 that it would be interesting to have a more simplified methodology. And then we call like this certification of the forestal extractivism, which are the segments. They are very simple in terms of environmental licensing, so a very specific public. It's very broad, but it's very specific when it comes to the demand. And then from this experience on, for the past few years, we could harvest some very interesting results. And I will talk briefly about some of them. So currently we have more than 215 rural properties in the agroforestal certified by the environmental body, in which the maneuver are interested and the species are known as well. And we offer different options. So just 5 minutes left, okay? And there was a good increased amount of extractivists that are protected by this state legislation. I'll show you some slides so I can be more objective. This experience is very fruitful, especially in the relationship with the integration with other policies. So, for example, we had another aspect that it's a very interesting takeaway message, which was a state plan of agroecology and organic production. created in Rio Grande do Sul, one of the few in Brazil, and it serves as a guideline for activities that are developed for that means. And it involves like non-tender products and all the restoration process. Another point that I would like to call your attention are the initiatives that we've been participating as a body, as a public body, as civil society, in many different fronts of many initiatives. So the indigenous people initiatives, and this is very important for us, like to become stronger in productive chains. Another example of public policy, which is a little bit different, and that we are taking advantage. It's an action plan, an editorial action plan that we are developing within Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina, like the two neighbor states in the South area. And the main objective is to work with conservation of species that are on the verge of extinction. So we have some target species, and one of the main objectives of this plan is to elaborate strategic plans to provide support to the productive chains in social biodiversity that contributes to the vegetation in the region. So at this moment, we have two people being hired to deal with the specific plans in Santa Catarina as a priority of the productive chain of the pinhão, which is a nut, is this Araucaria pinus. It's a seed that it's broadly used and very important in the fauna here. And in the Rio Grande do Sul, in the other state, we are working with another strategic plan to develop the productive chain of native fruits. We do have like 20 or 30 native species that are used commercially. In the realm of this plan that deals with this subject, we are working with diagnosis of bottlenecks and the development of the productive chains. Another important topic that we're working here, and it's my presentation today, I'm just talking briefly because we cannot go over time, but you're right. About a year ago, we began a mobilization like to set up a network here in the South area to talk about ecological restoration. So we are taking the opportunity of this event to disclose the recent creation of the South network. It's a movement from the civil society, and its main objective is to gather efforts towards restoration with very broad objectives. And here I call your attention, just 1 minute, Leonardo, for you. I call your attention as a provocative, positive, and we are talking about biodiversity products beyond the forest. So I brought some images of a difficulty that we currently have, which is to have the machinery to harvest seeds of like specific seeds. And we hope that this year we will have another opportunity to generate income and the restoration of species that are not native in the regions. And we will work with all the ecosystems, providing support and the development of the productive chains. So this is it. I would like to thank you for the opportunity, and here is my contact. Thank you very much. And then I will call the next speaker.
Natalia Alburquerque, del Servicio Forestal. Natalia, si nos puedes compartir tu pantalla, por favor.
Natalia, if you could share your screen with us, please.
10 minutinhos, Natália. Muito obrigada.
Obrigada a vocês pelo convite. Agradeço a Roger.
I would like to thank George, and I will present the experience
Sustentável no âmbito do Serviço Florestal Brasileiro.
In terms of the social development, and And also there are some extension factors that need and demand some special attention. So
Estás en modo de presentador, no estás en modo exposición.
Vocês não estão vendo passar?
Não, precisa até colocar no modo apresentação.
no, you should put it in the presentation mode, Natalia.
Agora sim, estamos no segundo.
Yes, now we are on the second slide.
O programa Arboreto é programa que atua no bioma
So this program where all the forest biomes in Brazil, and we are in the core center of the Atlantic forest and the Ilha Baiana, and it's very known in relation to the conservation of some species. And that we do have some trees and other plants, and very important for the biodiversity. And the cultural diversity is also very important. We do have many traditional communities, quilombolas and indigenous peoples working in programs with a very important participation in cultural diversity and due to the some of the analysis that we have and that we conduct, we have a lot of scientific contribution in all the workplaces in rural communities. In fact, all the technical and logistic support in rural communities for the production of seeds and production of plants. So Natalia, we are still in the second slide. So you really need to go to the presentation mode, Natalia. So like from current slide. So can you see it? No. All we see is your PowerPoint on the left side. So I will stop sharing and then I will share again. So can you see it? We are on the fourth slide.
Tenta só fechar essa parte.
Well, just try to close what is on the right side. And then another detail here. So the people in the asking for you to speak a little bit closer to the microphone. So I believe that it will be a little bit better now. Can you hear me well? So let's try, let's keep on trying. So following the presentation, so this is an overview. So this is related to all the community, rural communities. And they are on the range of like 10 kilometers from the main cities, like in the south area of Bahia. So this support to the community since the north part of the state of Espírito Santo to the state of Bahia, communities that they plant and they harvest, especially like family farming with specific techniques and all the equipment that they use, and the public ministry is very responsible for the administration and some other regulatory procedures. So I'm bringing you one element of this structure that we consider important. It's a physical structure, the locus forestal, that provides the physical structure for human resources and provides support. It's a strategy that we've been chasing, and this is a reference for all the technical specifications in terms of reforestation, also to provide like quality inputs. We know that for this kind of economy, we must have quality. to make it possible, like seeds of quality and also plants of high quality. And this is very important for the development of the chain. And this is done with the participation of everyone, working with the technical capacitation training, like to gather seeds and also for the planting and harvesting. So we deliver all the equipment needed in the communities. So we collect the seeds and they go through a very strict control. And we have more than 500 species in the forest. So the model that we work, it's a commercial conservationist model, and the capacity of the production is 250,000 plants per year. We also have the production with the participation of the community, and the Brazilian legislation works with the preservation area and also especially associated to water safety, especially with the traditional communities. So this is also related with agroforest, and this is being like the most important player in the development of the production chain. And we have the cocoa along with other forestal species. And here I brought some numbers for the past 10 years. But generally speaking, we are talking about the species and the seeds produced and developed to the communities and all the income. And also like how we produce forests. And then following the second step, like for the forest, like to produce and understand this forestal vocation, they must know the different classes of forestal resources for this bioeconomy and the forestal restoration, many different tinder and non-tinder products. And also the work is linked to technological development, working with production. We have the seed and we work with the development of the species, and then we apply this amount in biodiversity. So my presentation so the value of the forest, this is what is important. This is basically like the access and the value of diversity. They are linked to the value of the forest that is produced and the equation related to the planting and harvesting without over exploitation. And once you harvest, you want to increase the overall value. So 1 minute for you, Natalia. I'm right on time. And then we have to find different ways, like to value the forest as a source of access for the bioeconomy. So in our society, in our modern society, it's a value. It's not for the primary resources. So the biggest and greatest value is in relation to the perspectives, the future perspectives. So we must keep this forest, this natural forest with their high values and access, but also with everything that surrounds the environment without extinguishing their value. So here is my contact, and I'm part of the program, and I can talk more about it with all of you. And we can talk later.
Thank you very much. Marcela. Now we're going to go to the second presenter. Now we're going to go to the Social Environmental Institute of Brazil, Eduardo.
Obrigado, Jorge. Obrigado, Marcela, pessoal. Bom, eu trabalho no Instituto Socioambiental.
So I work in the Social Environmental Institute. I work with restoration in Brazil since 2000, and I'm going to present you a little bit about what we do.
Bom, a gente desenvolve uma cadeia.
In here, we develop a chain based in the forest and in the Cerrado biome that comes from a technology of restoration. So we plant some plants in a more practical way. It's cheaper, and we have social advantages as well. People that don't need to leave their houses to plant the seeds with the native seeds that they can have in their houses, in their farms. So for them to do this direct seeding, we have to have a lot of seeds. Those are techniques that you can plant the seeds for any type of seeds. So you can plant soybeans, you can plant corn, and any place has a different technique for you to plant the seed directly in the land. But it's a technique that is not very well known by everyone. The majority of the people only know the normal planting process. When we talk about this type of planting, seedling planting, that is not the norm, then people don't know that much about. So we're starting to work with the different bottlenecks that we have identified in this technique, with more needs of new seeds for this capacity building in the community, generating income for people that are preserving the native forest. So we talk about the norms, we talk about the seeds, we talk about the way to plant, we talk about this knowledge diffusion, and we also talk about the research, monitoring, and capacity building for them to understand the 6 pillars of action when it comes to planting in a different way, for them to insert that in their strategies, in their projects of restoration. So these networks, they sell the seeds directly to the consumer, but we have also found new ways of selling this. This technique is spread out in the country. It started in Mato Grosso, in the center of Brazil, and now it's already spread in all of the states that are there in the map. So in blue, we can see Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, Mato Grosso, and we also have Minas Gerais, Espírito Santo, Goiás. So Muduca de Sementes are areas that are demonstrating areas that already have this type of seedling. And in this period, we have more than 1,600 hectares that are supported by the Atlantic forest and the seedling. It also exists in the Amazon area and in the Cerrado. We have many courses, workshops, and different capacity building moments as well. So they have a better radiculary system, and these techniques to create and develop this market and the search for native seeds. We have the fast cycle restoration, and we also have the slow cycle restoration. So the sowing and of this plants doesn't hinder any process in the forest. So we have the seeds of each region, and we don't harm the system this way. We have articulated our strategies with the different groups, with these different support institutes. We have Natalia, who is here with us, who helps us with this technical support and to manage this research and these techniques of producing of these different plants. In the communication area, we also have this bridge, this commercial bridge that is done by some of our members in this network. And we work with researchers of seeds as well in the restoration area. We articulate them between themselves. We have this dialogue of seed production. This technical support, like I have said before, starts with the seed chain. When we have this management and marking of territory, we are able to register all of this traceability of the seed, and we know exactly where it was planted, and we discuss the norms and the public policies to improve this ecosystem of restoration. So here is where we already have collectors of seeds that were already mapped here in Brazil. Who has bought this seed in this market in 2021 was the mining sector, the energy sector, the grain sector, and so on. So we have many sectors that are already acquiring these types of seeds. And this is the market that we are opening, we are expanding. And here what is in orange is what we can sell directly in the network. And what is in blue is what we were able to sell to the network itself. So outside the network is in orange and inside the network is in blue. So we have, like I said, been selling a lot in the Amazon area, and we have the Cerrado biome that is very well consolidated. We have the Atlantic forest that didn't have a lot of experience and recognition before, but now we have been working with them. And in blue is how we were trying to help them commercialize these native seeds. So the support that we have in the network is amazing. In the commercial area, we try to marry the offer and the demand for the seeds. And we have the technical and logistics support as well for the production of the seeds, as well as the distribution of it in the project. Here is a screenshot of a meeting that we had last week of these different people that participate in this capacity building workshops that I've mentioned before. And in this meeting, we were able to systematize our technical team and the knowledge that we have in the topic so that it serves as a manual and a standardization of what we already do and the good practices of our network. What we don't know We can ask someone that knows, and that way we expand our knowledge and develop our knowledge together. Those are our sponsors and partners, and that's it.
Muito tempo, obrigada.
Okay, thank you so much, Eduardo. I'm going to have to do an update here in the Spanish booth because Priscilla has left and she is back, and I'm having to insert her in the booth again. Let's see here our registration list. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, okay? For us to be able to answer you now while I'm doing this. Okay. Priscilla, can you see the button yet? No, no, I don't see the button yet.
Espanhol, né? Confirma para mim, Priscila. Desculpa, pessoal, só para a gente garantir que a tradução da apresentação agora do Jorge vai ser garantida com as nossas duas intérpretes em espanhol. Podemos? Confirma para mim, Priscila. Temos algumas perguntas, ao final a gente vai responder, né, Jorge? Vou passar então já para o Jorge fazer a sua apresentação, 10 minutos. Você pode colocar no modo apresentação, Jorge? Para a gente poder visualizar bem os slides.
Estaba esperando para reducir el volumen para que no me confunda la traductora.
Certo. Priscila, você pode confirmar para a gente se você já está na cabine?
Roger, ahí el tema de traducción usted puede seleccionar audio original, así usted no escucha la traductora.
Bueno, voy a empezar con mi presentación.
Obrigada.
Buenas tardes, voy a hacer con ustedes algunas reflexiones sobre la relación entre productos forestales no maderables y la restauración a partir de algunas experiencias que hemos tenido en el CATI. Estamos... Tengo un problema. Voy a tener que usar la presentación.
Vou ter que usar a apresentação, porque não consigo passar.
Tienes apenas que darle clic en la pantalla, así como...
Okay, reminding you all that whoever wants to hear it in Portuguese, please click on the globe and choose Portuguese. And who wants to listen to Spanish or English, English and Spanish. Okay, so restoration is a process that is in fashion. And there are several goals all over the world, initiatives, and we have so many of them, more than 50 million environments to be restored. And the restorations of the ecosystem are very, very important worldwide. So we need to ask ourselves, how can we participate in the restoration? So we are going to work with forest products that are timber and non-timber materials. So we can think about some cases that are very famous, like the case of Guatemala in 2009, thanks to the main construction of the community groups. We started having the deforestation of the biosphere Maya reserve. And if we look at this deforestation process, we are going to
I'm having a problem with this presentation because the slides, you should see the reforestation in progress. Let me see if I can do it in a different way as well. So here in this slide, you can see how it's advancing. So the deforestation is working, including the protected areas and how we can preserve the areas where they are protected. We see advancements throughout the year, but they happen mostly in the areas where the community work is not working, like to protect the land. So communities are the ones who are really protecting the forest against fires, because in those spaces you have like production systems that are very useful for their life strategies, including products such as leaves, tea, so the sickly. So these are non-timber products. They are produced with the production of a sustainable timber, with a strong participation and organization of the community. So this way, like to preserve the forest, has also shown its capacity to preserve the forest from, so the Brazilian Amazon forest, preventing the expansion of the agriculture boundaries. So can we have like non-timber products linked to the forest? So we do have some examples in Latin America, such as in Mimbre, which is a recognized product in which the forest is not part of the ecosystem directly. It's a product that helps like to the reforestation, but not necessarily in the reconstruction of the forest. So Mimbre, non-tropical, in more tropical countries, mostly in Ecuador and in Central America countries. There are some Mimbre that is produced in the forest, and it's linked to the forest. So we also have bamboos. And we have many different products produced, and there is an array of production, but many ecosystems of bamboo monospecific. So not necessarily they lead to the reforestation of the area, but it can recover the landscape and service. Also, walnuts that has shown, which is a non-timber product that is strongly connected to the natural forest. And it's outside of the natural forest, which is productive. So for non-timber products and have a strong presence in the area. So we can also show some other non-timber products outside of the limits of the forest. The most emblematic cases are the acai. So we do have some initiatives in the Brazilian Amazon for the monospecific harvesting of acai. And with natural fruits of acai, and it could improve the area and also like to recover the forest. And in the case of Guarana, which is a product that for a very long time has gone outside of the forest and it's in plantations, and it's very difficult to see it linked to the forest itself. So there are some other products, non-tinder products, that may contribute to the degradation of the forest. We've seen cases in Central America of the capuca palm tree. Its commercial value, it multiplies in degraded forests. And in this particular case of non-tinder products, it is a front of like deforestation. So hycelia, so it eliminates most of the forest, and then it becomes one more source of deforestation. And then we cannot use this as a reforestation system. And the guayusa is industrialized in many different ways, also used in the primary forest. And in other cases, it's used in a different front with different uses. Another topic to be discussed, and we should be taking into consideration exotic non-tinder products. And I talk about coffee. Coffee, which is non-tinder, it's an exotic species. And this is not bad, but this image that it's very common in Peru, it's an area in the Amazon forest which is being destroyed to actually produce coffee. This kind of production needs to be certified, but it is in the forefront of deforestation. So we need to see what kind of context we should show up, what kind of species we can talk relating to the reforestation. And the Synthropia, there is a large amount of species that enhance the ecosystems and the soil, but they have many different exotic species. This is not bad at all. But when we talk about restoration of the forest, this is not the best model that we should follow. 1 minute. 1 minute. And then when we talk about monoculture, which is macaúba, and in this particular case, it's like to change the devastated area of this kind of environment, but it cannot help to reforest the forest. Another non-tinder product that can reforest the forest, and it's very interesting in the south area of Mexico. It's a palm, the comedora, that it's used in secondary forests. And it's difficult to obtain tinder because you have no commercial tinder here. And then if we look at the secondary forest with this production, then we are forming in a feasible way the reforestation, the secondary reforestation with non-tinder plants. And then we may include as the Inglerianas, the Similax ingleriana, which is included in the forest. And then I will close with my products that are non-tinder, my preferred products ones for the reforestation, those that might be produced in a sustainable way in the primary forest, those that produce well in the secondary forest, and that adds value to the secondary forest, to the non-tinder products, which not promote a change in its use, and those that help recover the excessive use of the forest, and then they will recover the ecosystem services. So I stop sharing my presentation, and I will pass the floor to the second stage. So now we will move on, Marcela, to one comment with all the presentations. So thank you very much for keeping track with the time. We do have some issues. And also there was an interaction among the panelists, so in the chat, and some answers have been given to some of the questions. And we do have some issues like Roger and Max that we may address. We do have a few minutes left for the final considerations and just promote like a proper closing for this first part. So we will pass on to the comments of all the presentations. A few things caught my attention during the presentations, and especially like the diversification of the environments and ecosystems, the ecosystems of the different environments. So there is a trend, like a growing trend and a specific need to have a context in the landscape with a diversity of ecosystems and the cultural diversity, use and human values with the ecosystems. And this is a very important element to restoration, but also like for planting and the economy as a whole. Leonardo has highlighted some important challenges and aspects related to the activities for production and also to promote access to land and resources. Those are very common problems that present difficulties for the restoration of the bioeconomy. Also, like the benefit of complex products and high costs to be processed. So we know that the challenges ahead of us are the production challenges for restoration. We need to produce. We need an environment for production. And we talked about interesting examples like certification for the extractivist activities and the production of policies to promote threatened species, even in the productive chains related to the biodiversity. So we must need like policies for the production and the restoration. We talk about seeding and plants with the restoration that includes the forest development and recovery of the biodiversity simultaneously. And it's a very interesting work, like to call people to participate with the key elements for the restoration. Natalia also talked about the organization of the landscape and the productive space and conservation space that integrate production and conservation and organization of different productive models in the landscape, diversification and conservation and the market. And also we talked about bioprocessing and the challenge of everything that's related to the ecosystem linked to the perspective of productive challenges important for the economy. And Eduardo is talking about the arrangements with the local participation and also the producers, and a very interesting material for the economy, which is the selection of genetic material, which is a very interesting knowledge business model. Also talks about different kinds of seeds for different uses and different ecosystems. This is a business model that promotes genetic material for different use and means, and also including the incorporation of agriculture models and the recovery of the forest. So we diversify the economy. We also must have like public policies that are adequate. Eduardo talked about the importance that the communication, information management, information is important for good business and good policies, information to have good productive methods, and also information to have a good restoration. So lastly, to talk about my presentation, what kind of restoration we want, what are the main goals, and how we are going to link this model with business models that will contribute towards the good bioeconomy. Those were the comments. Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you, Jorge.
So thank you so much, guys. In this workshop, we're going to do this very much. Thank you. So Marcela, I don't want to say anything else, but in this afternoon, we have had a lot of exchange of information for us to continue moving forward in this ecosystem, in this quality of everything. So for us to foment this bioeconomics and try to make this as much as possible, this is fundamental to include everything in the best way possible, to include women and the youth in the economy and the ecosystem. This is very important. So I think that we have a lot of opportunity, and this forum has been able to show how much we have been developing this. Thank you so much. I just want to make a few other reflections and say that it's amazing to have everyone here participating here with us. And I think that for me, instigation was what felt to be the most important word for me. I'm happy because I think that the bioeconomics is something that is not easy for us to talk about this, but it's incorporating itself more and more in different areas. And I feel like it's something that we know that is important. So in the bioeconomy of the different landscapes that we are discussing here is extremely important. So I feel like we can continue discussing this. And I also would like to say that I'm going to give you a spoiler. I have already commented with Sandra before from Kachi. From this moment that we have been discussing this, we need to think about if we are going to approve a project that we have in bioeconomics and non-timber products, thinking about the restoration as well. So we have been thinking about structuring a capacity building that can be enriching in this process. So it's important for those that have not registered themselves for us to be able to have their contacts for them to receive this invitation for this course. That would be it. Thank you so much, Marcela, Sandra, everyone that have accepted this. Thank you, Marcela, for your facilitation and for your portunhol. I would just like to make an invitation here to everyone. I'm going to take advantage that Max has talked about this non-timber products. Maybe we can have a forum and we can do that in Cachi. I think that everyone would like to know Cachi in Costa Rica with all of the story that it has. So what I would like to provide you a message tomorrow for us not to forget about the forum not having ended yet. We're still in the second day. Tomorrow we're going to have 2 work groups just like this one to discuss development and research in inclusive economy, and the other one to discuss the mechanisms of the financial model. So I think that for those who are interested for the development of body chains, we are going to do a dynamic that is going to be close to these ones that we have done. And we are going to also have on Thursday, our last day of forum, where we are going to present these results. I don't know if Marcela was going to say that, but I would like to highlight this and say that we're going to make a presentation of this panel in the first time in our session on Thursday. And then we're going to have a panel about financial sponsoring. And we're going to have many people here with us in a table listening to us. I hope that they can come here to listen to our presentations, the production of this forum, and then to talk about the opportunities as well for the funding of the project. I think that with that, we can think about the other part of the forum. That was it. Thank you so much for the presence of everyone here. And we hope that we can find you tomorrow. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. We're going to find ourselves tomorrow again. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.